Hi, I'm Carol O'Mara, horticulture entomologist with Colorado State University Extension in Boulder County. Well, I got a little bit of a problem here in my garden. I planted an awful lot of watermelon, and now that the vines have run and I've got an awful lot of fruit set, how do you tell if a watermelon is ripe? Some people use the time-honored method of thunking a watermelon. Here's a young one. What they do is they listen to hear this change of sound. I've never been really good at managing to find nice ripe watermelons based on the thump test, but let's look at a couple of really good tips for making sure your watermelons are ripe and ready for you to harvest. What we look at is time, tendrils, and belly color. Let's take a look at the lifespan of a watermelon down the length of this particular vine. What we have here is day one for our little watermelon. You can see the female here is in bloom. We've got just a little bit of the fruit right behind it, and the flower is wide open. This is the date that we want to mark on our calendars because 30 days after this little flower has closed, that's when we really want to pay attention to see if our watermelon is ripe. It takes about 30 days. So what we have here is day one. Looking back along the life of this vine to make sure that we're really going to get fruit, because not all flowers will set fruit. We're going to take a peek at this one, and unfortunately we have a little bit of an animal nibbling on it, but you can see we're starting to get a nice swelling of the fruit. And as we move back in, the melons are starting to size up and look pretty good. About 30 days from now, this one back here, the one with the little blossom on it, is where we need to be checking for tendrils and for belly color. Let's take a closer look at one that's almost ripe now, and you'll see what I mean. The watermelons that I'm growing are Cream of Saskatchewan. These are not really huge watermelons, so one of the things that I keep in mind is making sure I know approximately what size the watermelon will be when it's mature, and that's when I start checking it. For this, I'm starting to look, it's a little small, but it put on pretty early in the season. So I'm making sure that the rind color is starting to darken up just a little bit. And one of the things that I want to gently do is check the belly of the watermelon. You can see here it's just starting to blush from white into yellow. That's the first sign that this is starting to ripen up. Watermelons, as they sit on the ground, will have this nice white belly. And one of the signs of ripeness is when that belly turns yellow. So I'll be watching this very, very gently as it starts getting close to being ready to pick. Don't disturb the vines too much if you can help it. Most of our cucurbits that like to run like this like their vines to stay in place, and every time you disturb it, they get a little sulky. So that's why I'm lifting this very gently and setting it back down without disturbing too many of the vines. The last surest point that you can check on a watermelon to make sure that it's good and ripe is going to be in the tendrils. These little clinging parts of the vine grow on either side of the point where the fruit connects right into the vine. You can see you have one here and one that's being right underneath the vine stem itself. When these dry back, that watermelon is very close to ripeness. As they start drying down, and you can see this one is beginning to do so, just changing color and drying back, as those two tendrils dry in and the belly turns yellow, that's when we know that watermelon is ripe and ready for eating. You can take this information to the store if you like. Although we usually see watermelons that don't have the stem attached, you will be able to check belly color. So when you're at the grocery store and shopping for a nice tasty watermelon for your evening's enjoyment, turn those watermelons over. Make sure that it's got a nice yellow stomach to it, and then you can try your thump test to see if your ears are good enough to figure out if it's ripe or not. I'm Carol O'Mara, helping you garden.